Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I often go to my local game store for any new game article or new games. I'm quite an avid gamer and know more about games than how to play them. I'm a 20-year-old female. I went into the store and waved to the store clerk who knew me quite well. I began looking at the different magazines trying to find one that I didn't already have. When a mother and child came in, I knew this was a gift for the kid as he had a birthday boy badge on him. The store layout there is a metal spinning rack in between two lanes that have a bunch of Xbox stuff in one lane and the other have PlayStation. "Which one do you want to pick, honey?" she said sweetly to her child. This kid looked no older than 10. "I don't know. I like PlayStation, but the Xbox looks cool," he said, struggling to choose, and I was feeling confident today, which is super rare. I would choose Xbox. The PlayStation Pass games aren't as good, and Xbox have been buying up good games developers, so you'll get more better quality games. I explained to him to help inform choices. "What do you mean about that?" his mother asked, quite confused. "Oh, well, think of it like stores. If Peacocks buy all the local clothing stores, the only place you will be able to get clothes would be Peacock." I explained quite badly, as I'm not the best with communicating. "You could have just said that they are going out of business," she said quite rudely, but I was understanding as I really do struggle to explain things. "We're getting the Xbox," she said to her son. "You should let him choose though. I was only informing you about potential future." I tell her that as I now feel bad for the kid, as I took away one of the choices because I wanted to help. "No, I will not waste £500 on console. That is going to be worthless soon," she said in quite a rude tone that was getting me mad. "Look, I wanted to help your son, not take away his choice." I stood up to her. "How dare you speak to a customer like this?" She then turned into a Karen. As she began shouting at me, the store clerk finally noticed. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. "I want her fired. She was speaking to me rudely. She shouted in my face and got some spit on my face." "What? Her? I doubt that. She barely speaks, and when she does, she is super polite. She also doesn't work here," the store clerk said, which surprised me as I see him quite often, but it is only to buy things. "She doesn't work here? Then why she would help us out?" She questioned my intentions. I just like people knowing what they are buying beforehand. I tried to explain, but she interrupted me before I could finish. "You want to find out my card details, aren't you?" she accused me, and I just questioned how exactly I will be able to do that by talking. "Call the police." She began becoming hysterical, and she even began scaring her own kid. The store clerk begins calling up the police as she was not leaving when the store clerk kept asking her to. She kept saying that I was trying to steal from them, and countless other things I won't mention here. The police arrived after 10 minutes. They had to use a taser on her, which shocked me as I had never seen that happen in real life before. They asked questions about what started this, and I explained. I'm never helping anyone ever again. I also felt bad for her son, as his mother got handcuffed on his birthday, but his dad was a lot nicer and apologized for her and tried to excuse her behavior. I think he didn't want me to sue them, and I wasn't planning on it, especially for the boy's sake. I have recently, as in 8 months ago, been diagnosed with agoraphobia. So basically, I constantly try to avoid anything that could lead to panic or embarrassment. So whenever I go out, I try to stay close to someone I trust. Or if I can't, I try to stay close to any and all exit doors or windows. This is from my personal experience, and this does not apply to everyone with the condition. Please understand that. And I think it's extremely important to note that I'm a selective mute. In some situations, but in others I can just barely speak. One day a few months ago, I was at a store with my best friend, and probably the only man I trust. Us both being artists, we were looking for an array of paints and supplies, and he told me that he needed to go to the restroom, and to wait for him here because it was not only close to an exit, but it was also close to the bathroom. I said okay, and he left to do his business. But while I was scanning the shelves for a certain product, I heard a doorbell chime. And in comes our favorite person, Karen, who was followed by a younger girl with natural bright red hair and blue eyes. Karen said something quickly to her kid, and then they both parted ways. The nice kid began to walk in the direction of my aisle, and I started to panic a little bit. When she finally reached it, she walked next to me and started to look for something. After about 40 seconds of looking, she turned to me and politely asked if I knew where a certain paint was found. Me, being a regular of the store, knew exactly where it was. But in that situation, I could barely speak, let alone look at her. She realized my state and said, "Oh, take your time." And she gave me a smile. After about 40 whole seconds of stuttering and slurring, I finally managed to tell her that it was in the next aisle over. She thanked me and went along with her business. At that time, my friend had just gotten back from the bathroom and saw me talking to the nice kid. And he asked me about it and asked if I was alright. After explaining everything, he calmed down, and so had I. We went on with our shopping and we ended up walking next to Karen. And she apparently saw this as a perfect time to ask me about talking to her daughter. And the conversation went like this.
"Excuse me?"
My amazing friend answers her, "Yes, ma'am." Karen, in somewhat rude tone,
"Not you."
She points to me.
"Her."
Me, visibly confused. "Oh, yes, ma'am."
"Mind telling me why you were speaking to my daughter?"
Me, already scared for my life. "Oh, I was just telling her where something was."
"Oh, hell no."
She cuts me off by raising her hand in front of my face.
"You were not telling her anything. You were flirting with her."
Now at this point, I realized what she was saying. While I was talking to her daughter, my face had gone red and it seemed like I was doing more than just giving direction. "Oh, no, ma'am. I swear, it was just harmless."
"I don't want some weirdo talking to my daughter."
Now she had raised her voice quite a bit. I would have started crying right then and there if my friend hadn't grabbed my arm and took over for me. Okay, she wasn't flirting with your daughter, she was helping her. And don't raise your voice. We're talking like normal people here, not arguing.
"Yes, she was. If she wasn't, then why was her face so red? And why did it take her so long, huh?"
She goes red when she's nervous. And she's a stutterer.
"I don't believe that nonsense for 1 second. She was..."
And here comes her daughter, obviously confused. "Hey mom, what's happening?"
"I was telling this weirdo to stop flirting with you. That's what."
Karen crossed her arms, and the nice kid sighed. "Mom, she was helping me." Once again, Karen butts in.
No. I don't believe that lie for a second. I'm not gonna let this weirdo ruin my daughter, and that's final."
Karen now looks at me and steps closer.
"And as for you..."
She pokes my chest and I nearly faint.
"Stay the heck away from my daughter."
All of a sudden, my friend pulls me back completely and goes off on Karen. Do not touch her. First off, and secondly, she doesn't want your daughter. After that, they both started yelling, and I begin to have a panic attack in the corner. After some time, security is called and they ask what's going on. Karen says,
"This man tried to harass me."
Like all Karens do. And after about a minute of trying to tell the officer about the threats my friend supposedly made, she then turns to me and says,
"And that thing touched my daughter. Arrest her."
The daughter cuts, but I can't hear a word. After that, I remember Karen giving me death threats while she was being forced out in handcuffs. and her daughter comes and apologizes. My friend tried to call me, but barely succeeded. And the officer asked if we wanted to press charges. I tell him no, but my friend insists on it. And in the end, we eventually decide to do things his way and sue her. In a post on a different sub, I mentioned that I took a hiatus from the live entertainment industry for a bit during my pursuit of a PA. One summer during this time, I found a job at a chain bookstore. In this case, it was a larger branch, which opened into the mall it was built off of. This is relevant, as the branch had a rule. Once clocked in, employees were not allowed to go through the mall entrance. This was in place due to some people window shopping during break and not making it back on time, keeping others waiting on them. This is extremely relevant, I promise. Another thing to note, I sometimes have issues with my bladder due to a side effect of a medication I was on long term, which can sometimes trigger painful spasm or worse. So one day I'm working in the cafe as usual, and I start to feel it. The telltale cramp of impending doom. Between just hypergrowth bladder and the cramp, I knew it was urgent. A customer approached the cash register and began to order. I politely stopped him and told him I needed to leave for a second, urgently, and I pulled my manager from the back to ring them out. And sadly, this too will be relevant later. I leave the cafe at a sprint, headed for the ladies' room only to find the entire bathroom locked, with a closed for maintenance sorry sign on the door. I called the GM for the store and asked him what I should do. Thankfully, he was nearby and came to unlock it, and he was fumbling for the key. He told me what had happened, and someone had smeared poo, blood, and possibly urine all over the bathroom, like on every surface. Then threw the contents of the sanitary bins everywhere. A disgruntled customer, he said, likely a rip empire. Someone who tears a book and expects a discount for damaged goods. This isn't the Karen we're dealing with though. He lets me in and tells me that the floor was wet. But as I am an on-the-clock employee, I'd have worked men's comp and insurance assistance if I slid down and got hurt. A customer could potentially sue. Plus, I didn't have a choice due to policy. Long setup short, I get out of the bathroom after finding sweet relief. As I'm walking out, I hear a banging. Someone is trying to force the door open. I open the door and start to walk out, when a Karen starts to push past me.
Oh my god, why is this door locked?
I was confused, like, lady, there is a big sign that says closed for maintenance, in 20-point font bold text. I start to apologize and pull the door closed, seeing potential danger. This Karen isn't your typical suburban mom, with a bad bob cut and bumped hairstyle, and a pair of sunglasses that could eclipse the sun. No, this was an older woman. I started to explain to her why it was closed. The woman cuts me off and starts berating me. She asks me how people with children are supposed to take them potty if this thing is locked. Like there is a bathroom at the restaurant next door, or in the food court. Not all that far away. I relay this information with an apology and start to head into the back room. My manager had told me to go ahead and start my break while I was out of the cafe. The back room has a code lock door with a sign saying, "Employees only, no trespassing." I feel like I have a chance to escape this woman's wrath and hide for a second. And she follows me all the way from the bathroom, berating me incoherently, dragging along her 3-year-old granddaughter. This lady pushes her way into the back room before the door can shut. I let her follow me, clock out, squeeze out past her and slip into the adjoining break room. From there I called my GM again. This woman is in the break room, yelling at me so loud he can barely hear me on the phone. He comes quickly and she jabs a pudgy finger at me, accusing me of deliberately making her child suffer, when he holds a hand up to silence her. And holy hell, it worked. She fell into a pissed off sputter followed by silence. "Ma'am," my manager said. We will call him Manny. Spotlight here, me, is an employee of the store, acting under direct orders from her manager. She can't let you in, because we had to power wash the bathroom, so it's incredibly slick. If you feel, we would be completely responsible for it. However, she's an employee, we could cover her injuries easily, and she'd be fairly compensated by our insurance. There is a bathroom a short walk from there, in a food court. I can see you haven't finished shopping yet, and you can leave your unbought merchandise here, and I'll bring it up when you come back to the store. Honestly, it's a rational explanation, but Karen didn't take it.
No way! Just open the bathroom right now!
And she actually stamped her foot and snapped her fingers. Meanwhile, her grandchild, a literal 3-year-old, says,
"Grandma, I have to go. Just do what the nice man says and let's go."
Yup, a child is more adult than her grandma.
You see? You're making my poor baby suffer.
Then she gets a weird look on her face.
It's because you think I'm a dumb N-word woman, isn't it?
Yes, she was black. My manager looks shocked, then Karen says,
I'm going to report you to corporate. What's your name?
It's Manny, ma'am. And go ahead. This sign applies to all customers, ma'am. I assure you. But I've tried to be reasonable. Now, again, I'm asking you to leave and telling you that you will not be welcome back.
You think you can just push around a woman, don't you, you fat white jerk? I should have known you people were racist when she refused to make me coffee and dumped it on someone else.
Yep, that's where I recognized her. He picks up a phone and begins calling mall security. A little note, the cafe employees at this store are a favorite of mall security. We always get along well and generally let them hang out with us when we're not busy. This woman goes ballistic and screams loudly. She takes her young grandchildren and walks out into the men's room, barging in past a line of guys, screaming at them to move. After she finishes, she walks back up to Manny and says,
"See what you made me do when I could have been assaulted?"
And she then storms out, all the way out of the mall entrance, while yelling and screaming. "Lady, no one is that desperate," mutters Manny as he picks up the phone and finishes calling security. Turns out Karen made one last trip into the store, escorted by mall security, then left in handcuffs when she tried to assault them when they tried to escort her out. What a day that was! Also, I discovered the manager was planning to offer her a decent discount for her inconvenience. You blew it for yourself, Karen. Thank you for watching and see you next time.